What's up, everybody, and welcome into the Under the Hood podcast. I'm John the Hood. That is my crazy cousin Wiley, as we give you the Under the Hood podcast, a fresh one for 2024. Cuzzo, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well, Cuzzo. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, man. Because we have not spoken since the New Year, it's okay to say that on January 8th, right? It's okay
right,
to wish you New Year.
Absolutely. Usually you get about a week grace period, and after that, it's done. No more Happy New Year's.
Okay, is Rock good? Rocky the dog, our mascot for Under the Hood, is Rocky there? Has he had a good New Year?
He has had a great New Year. Santa Claus brought him, gifts, so he was excited about the gifts that Santa Claus brought him as well. So yeah, he's had a great New Year.
How does a dog show appreciation during the holidays?
Same way they show appreciation the other days throughout the year. You're their servant. They show. I guess he shows it by not destroying something. But yeah, he's been very active.
Okay, so thank you, Dad, for the good doggy treats. I'm going to shit in your lawn again. Is that the appreciation? Is that it?
Well, my lawn is his. Not my lawn. My backyard is his shitting ground. So he loves to shit back there. So naturally someone can pick it up because he can't pick it up. So go back here, take a shit, scoop it up. Yeah. So great time. The
reason why that we have our podcast and the reason why my cousin and I are together every week here on Under the Hood is because this saves from text messages. These are conversations we have via text or through family gatherings. So instead of doing that all the time, we just decided to put it all in a podcast. And that's why it's Under the Hood with Jonathan Hood. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe this podcast as well, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening through the Under the Hood on via podcast. And we've got merchandise as well. We have got tumblers, we've got mugs, we've got pint glasses, and we've got T-shirts as well.
This is the favorite right here, the Under the Hood T-shirt right here.
Yes, and it's always there, by the way. Usually smells like the woman of the evening that comes in to Cousin Wiley's home on a weekend basis. Looks a little lonely, though, for the weekends. It doesn't look like anyone's been sleeping in that T-shirt as usual.
Well, we've had company for the past month, so
well, you can't show your cards in front of family. My cousins, your kids, you can't show that in front of everybody. So once the kids are out of the house, I'm sure you'll sneak someone through the back door. Which is
right.
Which is
right. So it's have to be a choir boy while they're present.
Yeah, because it's got the same creases in there. It doesn't have any glitter or any baby oil on that. So it looks the same over the holidays. Looks like it's been taped.
Yes. Absolutely.
We also have the tumblers as well, right? We got tumblers.
Yes, we do. So tumblers. So we have, which was my favorite, the Under the Hood tumbler. Mine came with wads of cash.
Yes.
Yours may or may not, but get yourself an Under the Hood tumbler. It's great for this time of year as well. Like, we're going to have a little snow over the next week or so, and then it's just winter months. You're going to have snow anyway, so snow days suck. So when the snow days suck, when you wake up in the morning, add your hot tea, add your coffee, and then add a little whiskey, a little bourbon, a little vodka, something to spice up your morning drink, your favorite morning drink.
Yes. And what else do you have there?
We have the Under the Hood water bottle. So just like with the tumbler, when you want to work out, put a little water in here, a little juice in here. And if you just don't feel like working out, you can put a little vodka, a little orange juice, have yourself a screwdriver, get yourself an Under the Hood water bottle. You'll enjoy it, whether it's fitness or health or just, recreation. Great thing to carry around.
So
and
what else?
It's always cold.
Yes, I'm surprised another one of my cousins didn't steal that over the holidays. It's still there in your home. As you, I'm surprised someone didn't take it.
So what I do is, because it's mine, and if I hide it and set it aside, so then I bring it out, so I don't have those problems. But
Okay,
yeah,
I'm surprised
absolutely, yes. And when
somebody have sticky fingers to take it back with them to a certain
oh
certain locations. So okay,
oh of course, yeah. You know our family.
yes, I do. That's I do know our
Yes,
family very well. The other thing, everybody, is that we've got hoodies as well because it's the winter and we're starting to get some real good snows here in the Chicagoland area and all through the Midwest, and of course the big nor'easter that's happening in the Northeast. Get yourself a hoodie. Get yourself an under the hood hoodie. There it is, right there.
yes.
One. I've got mine as well.
Carolina blue.
Yes.
Yes,
Oh, nothing like the Carolina blue. This
absolutely.
this one here covers me and a 55 Chevy. It's amazing. They both do the same job. So get yourself actually a better joke would have been my dad's old 84 Chevy Caprice Classic, because that's all he drove. So wait, so around your home, Harold always had a Cadillac, right? Was he a Cadillac man?
Cadillac and station wagon.
Cadillac and station wagon. Okay, I remember the station wagon as a kid. I do remember.
Yes. The Cadillac was like a 74,
Mhm.
and it had like maybe like 5,000 miles on it. Never drove it, cleaned it every day, you know,
Oh yeah,
cleaned it every day, but
yes,
never drove it. It was like, oh, still had the new car smell, everything, but 5,000 miles, never drove it. So it was just there as a conversation piece. That
yeah.
was it.
My dad had the. If you're too young to remember this because I'm a tad older than you, but he had Chevy Caprice Classics all the time. Like whatever the next one is, he'd buy.
Yeah,
And it was
nice.
strange because it's like, okay, you're just gonna get this big boxy car every time, right? Like nothing smaller. It was always long, sleek, big trunks. You could put 5 bodies in the back.
Right.
You can always have a good trust on a Caprice Classic. It's like, oh, Dad's got a new car. Oh, it's the same model. It's a Caprice Classic, but different year. Like
Yeah.
burgundy, light blue, black, whatever it was. And so, we grew up in a Chevy family because it wasn't going to be
It
a Ford.
was
It was always going to be a Chevy.
it's great taste though, because it's a classic. I mean, those things are still selling today. So that's something that has had a lasting impact on the culture at the very least,
I
because
I
those things still sell.
Yeah, because I have not been with you at one of these, but I love classic cars.
Yeah.
I love muscle car shows. I love them because when I grow up, I'm going to buy one. One day, I'm going to buy me one of those because if I can get myself a '67 Chevelle, if I can get one of those with the stripes up the middle and the white wall tires, I could retire if I get one of those. I'd love those things. I know a lot of them was always in Tinley Park, right? Tinley Park,
Yeah.
places like that.
Yeah. And I'll ride around with you when you get it.
Yeah, you be the first one. You
Yeah.
call it shotgun already.
Yeah. Yes.
And I love classic cars. One day, and as we get ready to talk about the Bears here, I'll still never forget my mom, your Aunt May, for selling. First of all, bringing a '55 Ford from Colorado Springs and putting it into the garage,
Yeah.
and of course, when you just go off and do your own thing. You kind of lose touch of what's happening around the house, right? When you know what I'm talking about, like you live at the house and all of a sudden you're out all late nights and kicking
Yeah.
thing, and you just kind of just come back home just to shower to go back out again, and you kind of just lose track of, like, exactly what's going on here. Like, wait, did someone put in a new bathroom? Hold on a second.
Right.
What's this out front? Like you you don't realize it because you're drunk and you're carousing and you are finding all type of women all over the place, right? So you lose track of time, and it's just kind of like all of a sudden I open the garage and the car's not there. I'm like, what happened to the Ford? Oh, I sold it. You did what?
Right.
You sold the classic car? 55, man. It was 55 Ford, black, big white wall tires. It was hard to power steer because there was no power steering. It was
Right.
crazy because I would drive it on Sundays just up and down Stony just to keep it going, right? But boy, those turns, boy, you took that wheel. It was just like it's trying to drive a bus, man. Trying to turn that wheel. And it was so,
Workout.
and like I'm getting people honking behind me. I'm like, if you could just give me a chance to just turn this car, because again, no power steering back then. You open up the hood and there's just like nothing. It's like this. It's just like the motor. Like nothing. You have
Yeah.
all space and there's nothing around it except like the motor just sitting right there.
Yep.
So I love those old cars, man. Yeah. It took a difficult time to steer and kind of make sure that you keep that thing on between the lines. But man, I love that feel of those old cars, because if somebody hit me, Cuzzo, they'd be dead.
Yes. Yes.
because
Yes.
is that because it's nothing because of me? It's because it's like hitting the tank the way those
Yeah.
built.
No give.
Yeah.
No give at all.
So they'd be the one hurt, not me. So I miss that. So one day, Cuzzo, we'll put our money
We're going for a ride.
Yeah, we'll put our
Okay.
money together.
Okay.
I'll find somewhere $20,000, and you find 100, and we'll put it together. Look at this stuff, the classic car. We will find a way. Well, so Cuzzo and I have been talking a lot about the Chicago Bears here on the podcast, and the Bears finished their season at 7-10. I'm going to give you a headline, and then I'm going to just let you go, because if you listen to me on Cap and J Hood weekday morning 7-10 on ESPN 1000 and on the ESPN Chicago app, you've heard me a lot talk about these different scenarios with the Bears. But I'll just start this way, a different way, and that is a piece that was written in theathletic.com. Kevin Fishbane, good homie, good, terrific writer that covers the Bears for a long time. He says, this headline is Bears players express belief in the foundation. The arrow is pointing up. Now, that's the same feeling that Lance Briggs, former Bear, has had all season, saying that no matter what this was going to be, Cuzzo, that this is going to be about foundation, and you bring everybody back because of continuity. That means head coach, that means offensive coordinator, that means Justin Fields, and then you just add and subtract on the roster via the draft and free agency. So when you hear Bears players express belief in the foundation, the arrow's pointing up, do you believe that if everyone comes back?
So, do I believe the arrow is pointing up with the talent on the roster? Yes. I do not believe bringing everyone back is the way to go. So I've come to terms with the likelihood that Eberflus is going to come back. So I understand. I've heard Kevin Warren talk about the atmosphere, the culture in the building. I listened to Ryan Poles essentially blow Eberflus in Hoke yesterday when he was doing his pregame interview.
Yeah.
So I'm fairly certain that Eberflus is probably going to come back, unfortunately. I don't think you take the next step you want to take with Getsy or Fields in the building. And here's why. And this is something that's unpopular in the barbershop. I'm growing my hair out now because I may not be able to go to the barbershop because of my my Fields thoughts.
Oh, cool.
But one of the things that I've seen over the past 7 games, we talked about this. We said these last 7 games are proving games for Fields. Like, play well. This is your audition. You play well. You're probably going to be starting quarterback for the foreseeable future. And if you don't, you're probably going to be on your way out. And feels like fashion, he kind of muddied the water. So in the last 7 games, the Bears went 4-3. 4-3 in the last 7 games. Over those 7 games, Fields had 1,300 yards, 5 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 6 fumbles, with roughly an 83 quarterback rating.
Mm-hmm.
So we would all call that mediocre. Not bad, not good, but just mediocre.
Right.
I was listening to your show this morning, And listening to your show this morning made me do a deep dive. So you threw out a stat this morning that just blew my fucking mind. You were like, in the Bears' last 3 road games, the offense has scored 1 touchdown. And that one touchdown came on a 1-yard scoring drive. So that was when against the Cleveland Browns, when the Bears set them up, the defense set the Bears up at the 1-yard line. It took the Bears still like 7 plays, almost like 7 plays to score.
Yeah.
So
that's the
those
Vikings, Browns, and Packers. Those are the final 3 road games the Bears played.
Final 3 road games. The Bears were 1-2 in those games, Hood, despite the defense forcing 8 turnovers and having just as many touchdowns as the offense had. Scoring touchdowns as the offense had. You can't tell me that my defense forces 8 turnovers in 3 games and doesn't give up 20 points over 20 points in any of those games. Didn't give up over 20 points in any of those games, but we still lose those games. Like, we still lose 2 of those 3 games. Like, how is that possible? And it's offense. So over the final 7 games, the Bears won 4 of those games. The defense forced 19 turnovers in those 7 games. 19 turnovers in 7 games. It only gave up more than 20 points once. And we still lost 3 of those games. That shit wouldn't be possible. But it's possible because of Getsy and because of Fields. So we saw except yesterday, we didn't see that because they were terrible. But for the other 6 games, we saw improved offensive line play. He had time to pass the ball. They were running the ball well. So that wasn't an issue like it was last year because there was time to throw, except yesterday. And it was primarily because of injuries. Wasn't it 5 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 6 fumbles? That isn't enough production when your defense forces 19 turnovers. It just isn't. And then even when you go beyond those 7 games, Fields had 16 passing touchdowns for the season. Half of those touchdowns came in 2 games. Half of its 16 touchdowns came in 2 games. What did you do the rest of the season?
Well, right. Well, I mean, some of that is that he was hurt, and that was Tyson Bage's time, and that's part of that. But my point is that I find it fascinating. And again, I can't just go after every Bears fan on social media or listen to our show that tries to turn a blind eye to what reality is. Reality is, Cuzzo, is that the team is a non-playoff team. The reality is that the Bears went through a long losing streak going into this season. People like pretend like those losses against the Packers, the Buccaneers, the Chiefs, the Broncos did not happen into their first win against Washington. Like, that didn't happen. The same slump that they were in last year carried over to this year. And that was because the defense was the shits early, and offensively speaking, they struggled. So Jordan Love, who you didn't know who Jordan Love was in their first game, but you found out obviously throughout the season that he's a damn good quarterback. That is for sure. You have a stopgap in Baker Mayfield doing progressive commercials that beat your ass in Tampa. You weren't going to win the Chiefs game. The Broncos game was going to be tough to win. You had a lead in that game, 28-7, and you lost 128 because the defense wasn't there, and the offense the offense turned the water off in the second half, in the fourth quarter. So my whole thing is that the inconsistency is the reason why that you make a change. The idea that you look at this team and say, yeah, you know what, Justin showed enough for him to be able to come back here next year. I don't see it, because I don't see it. And if you are going to do that, and if you're going to supply him with an offensive line and a wide receiver, how do I know that Justin Fields can still be able to read a defense and get the ball down the field? To me, the thing that is the banana in the tailpipe that people like to bullshit people on with the Bears is that if you just have a little sprinkle at the wide receiver spot, a little sprinkle at the offensive line, then the system will work. Well, the system is still the system. The system has been the same for most quarterbacks that have come in here. Run the football first, because we're a Big Ten team, that NFC North team. We're a Big Ten team. I mean, ultimately, like, we're Penn State over the years, right? Just keep running the football. Fine. But at some point, you have got to be able to throw the ball down the field. You've got to be able to connect. I say this all the time. If you just watch Bears football, you think that that's what football is, what you see offensively, but it's not. How many games have we seen, Cuzzo, what Terrence and Mace and all the people that we know that's in our circle that watch these games and say, boy, look how fast the ball comes out. For Miami, Buffalo, San Francisco, all the upper echelon teams in the NFL. And for the Bears, it looks like I'm watching games on Saturdays, which
Yes.
with like the lower level Big Ten team. It's like I'm watching Iowa. Seriously.
And even Dale's Pittsburgh Steelers put in Mason Rudolph, and he figured out how to score points. All of a sudden, their offense stopped sucking. So a lot of times you see a stagnant offense, and you say, "Oh, it's the coordinator. Oh, it's this guy, it's that guy." In most cases, there's a combination of coordinator and quarterback. Somehow there's a disconnect, or one of them sucks more than the other. But I think, for me, if you're great in any system. So I think Patrick Mahomes, that's quarterback in the NFL right now, the heir apparent to Tom Brady when it comes to being the GOAT. You drop him on any roster in the NFL, he's going to improve that roster. Is he winning Super Bowls next year? Probably not. Mm-hmm. But if you give him time, a talent like that is still going to be great everywhere. So when I see a guy like Fields, I see someone who has a bag of elite tools, but the way they're used, or what he uses them, it's incoherent. You can't win with it. So you see the elite tools, but when you put them together, it's not a winning formula. So when I see that, and I see an opportunity now to either go ahead and use your first pick on a quarterback, or possibly trade down, get Marvin Harrison Jr., and then use your second pick on a quarterback, I still see an opportunity to replace someone who has to this point been at best mediocre. Because even if you look at the weapons we have on the team right now, remove Claypool from the equation. Darnell Mooney was not a bum. Darnell Mooney can play football. For whatever reason this year, Justin Fields forgot he can play football. Cole Kmet isn't a bum. DJ Moore is the number one receiver in the NFL. And with those pieces around him, 2,500 yards passing, you want more from your quarterback. But even if you focus on the 2,500 yards passing, of those 2,500 yards passing, roughly 2,100 of those yards went to Cole Kmet and DJ Moore. So everyone else 400 yards. In 13 games, you threw 400 yards worth of passes to every other receiver on the team and running back on the team. Yes. That's why DJ Moore faked. Not DJ Moore. Darnell Mooney faked a concussion the last 2 weeks. He wasn't going to risk his health.
What?
He was like, Hood, you heard the story, Hood. So he comes in last week. Eberflus comes out to the podium on, I think, Monday or Tuesday. He said, Darnell Mooney came in yesterday and was complaining about, a headache. He had concussion-like symptoms. So it happens like that sometimes. We're going to monitor him. Mooney missed the last 2 games. Mooney knows he's going to get paid by somebody this offseason. He didn't want to risk injury by, being a decoy on offense. So he was injured. Like, oh yeah, I'm hurt. And it was understandable, because if the only players you see on the team when you're throwing the ball is DJ Moore and Cole Kmet, why am I playing?
Well, he should play because he has a contract coming up. I mean, if by the way, if that leaks, or if that is the case, you don't want an NFL team to say, "Oh, you're not really ready to play 17 games." Just saying, look, he's had the worst luck. Darnell Mooney, either he's being overshot on passes, or he makes a mistake. He had 1 touchdown. That's not what you want in a contract here. He will not get the money he thought he was going to get. He thought he would be the solidified number 2 receiver on this football team next to DJ Moore, and it didn't work. Darnell, he missed those 2 games. He had 1 touchdown. So just to be clear, as far as the receivers are concerned, 1,300 yards. And again, give me that total again, because DJ Moore, 1,300 yards.
1,364 yards for DJ Moore, 719 yards for Cole Kmet. So 2,083 yards for them together, and everyone else shared 479 yards. Not only 479 yards, 479 yards and 2 touchdowns. So they had DJ Moore and Cole Kmet had 14 of the 16 touchdowns. So everyone else 2 touchdowns, less than 500 yards over a 13-game period. So everyone is starving. Every other player except DJ Moore and Cole Kmet, they're starving. They're starving. Well, there's no other way around.
But here in the offseason, Cuzzo, what has to happen is that whoever the quarterback is, and I love, by the way, Justin Fields, and we didn't get to this. You would think after 3 hours we'd get to this. Justin Fields pretty much pieced out. Do you notice this, right? And just want you to know, like, if this is the end, you shit on the media, which is really funny to me because the media, the media it's what's fair. It was fair the way that Justin Fields was covered. It was fair. Like when the team struggled, they blamed everybody, including Justin Fields. I mean, if he wants to be in a tough market, be a Giant or a Jet. You think Chicago stuff? Be a Giant or a Jet and see what that's like. When you've got New Jersey and New York media all surrounding your locker, like 15, 20 people with the Pen and Mic Club, just be like, how come you suck today? Tell me how come you suck today? Like, you want that? I mean, it's covered fairly. I just thought that was weird. A little shot at the media saying that it makes his life tough. It would make his life tough. You know what makes it tough? A bad offensive line in front of him and him holding the ball too long sometimes. That's what makes life tough for him. And also having to clarify his comments. He had one controversy. Think about that. 3 years, like one controversy, like where he was just like, I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's coaching. Maybe it's me. And just the idea that he even brought up Luke Getsy was just like, it started a firestorm. Then he brings the media back in the locker rooms like, I ain't blaming nobody. Don't make a big deal out of what I'm saying. Like, well, you said it, son. You don't want to say it. And by the way, a lot of people supported him. Like he was right. Like, he had a right to be able to complain. And here's someone else to complain. DJ Moore. Hear that 21-second soundbite that we played this morning? Just like he pretty much was like, yeah, we got to take more shots down the field. I'm paraphrasing, but that's what he meant. Yeah, that's the number one receiver on this team. He wants to have more shots. He says instead of more shots down the field versus playing behind the sticks. Yeah,
right.
He's right.
And I think that disconnect was trust between coordinator and quarterback. Because if I don't trust my quarterback to make the right play, how do you take those shots? Because we've seen the steals from the all 22 videos of players, sometimes multiple players, clearly open and Fields being indecisive. And we also know that we've seen the plays where you scratch your head and it's like, how the fuck did you call this play? You get to. So, like, what were you thinking? Like, in what world would that play even possibly work? So when you put them two together, and they're both in a lot of ways were raw. Fields played one season in college, and this was essentially Luke Getsy's first time calling plays. So you got a raw play caller and a raw quarterback. That's a recipe for disaster. So I was listening to your guy Waddle today, and it sounds like there's a chance. I'm not sure how big it is, but the way he spoke on it, it sounds like it's not necessarily small that Harbaugh could come to Chicago, because the way it was framed, your guy Sylvie was like, what did he say? Waddle asked me, he said, what did I tell you last time the chances of Harbaugh coming to Chicago was? And Sylvie was like 60%. He was like, And then Sylvie was like, was that high? He was like, I don't know. So that turned into, like, what are you not sharing? He was like, I'm not sharing anything. But the way it was done, if you're listening, you're like, okay, he made it sound like they're friends. He made it sound like they had a conversation or something. And it's possible Harbaugh told him about his interest in, Michigan out quick, 7-0.
Yeah. So no matter what happens in the national championship game with Michigan and Washington, Harbaugh is leaving Michigan because the long arm of the law is on the way. He's leaving quick as you could say Pete Carroll, because as soon as this happens, he doesn't be part of a banner being snatched. Okay, I'm just telling you, like it's serious. So, like, and if it's not a banner being snatched, then it's going to be sanctions against Michigan. He doesn't want to be part of that. That's why you'll never see Pete Carroll in college again.
But even if they snatched the banner away, we all saw the result. You can't take that away.
No, I know. I'm just telling you that he doesn't want to be part of that. And also, another reason why Harbaugh is leaving is because he's got a glut of seniors on that roster. So, like, that'll be all for that.
So, I guess to kind of end the Bears discussion, when it comes to coaching, Hood, like I know there's a great chance Eberflus is going to be back.
Yeah,
but
maybe.
Look at the quarterbacks we beat, Hood. We beat quarterbacks that who are barely better than you and I. Like how are we giving him as much credit for that? And then when we saw, not a terrible performance yesterday because they were missing Jalen Johnson, but it didn't look anything like we saw the games before that. And if you look at his record, what's the signature win? A Lions team?
The Lions was a for sure. Because the Lions are the best of the division. That was a signature win for the Bears.
But golf has been mediocre his entire career. A lot of talent around him. Can't
do that. You can't do that, Cuzzo. Like, give the Bears credit. I mean, first of all, as you well know, I'm a college football fan, more so in the NFL. I know that hurts some people's hearts. Like, how could that be? Well, the reason why that's the way is because I love the pageantry of college football. I love my Saturdays. So this has been some slop this year, right? Because this is the year of the backup quarterback. The Browns are about to get to the playoffs on their fourth quarterback. It's been a lot of injuries, and so it has not been a great year post Tom Brady. It's kind of like how the league was post Kobe or post Michael Jordan. Like, okay, so who's going to carry the mantle? And it was kind of murky at first for a little bit until LeBron emerged. Same thing here post Tom Brady. I mean, as much as Patrick Mahomes is the dude, but then there's this fall off after Patrick Mahomes, right? So when I look at this, the quarterback situation, or when I look at the Bears are just like when Arizona went in and beat Philadelphia, or the Bears beating Detroit. And I can't say I was overly surprised, but I give them credit. I mean, the Bears lost games that they were supposed to win against Denver.
But for example, they also they have Joe Flacco roll off the couch with a pack of camels in his back. Yeah. And he beats them.
I know.
So it's when you see that, and I say how whatever the coach may be, the coach was great under John Fox as well. The coach was great under Dick Duran as well. Coach was great under Lovey. The only coach where the culture sucked, that truly sucked at was Mark Trestman. Yeah. Outside of that, culture has never really been an issue at Hallis Hall. So when we celebrate culture, we're not celebrating something that is a good culture isn't foreign to the Chicago Bears. It's pretty common because they've had choir boy coaches for the most part since Dicker left. So they've had a bunch of choir boy coaches. Maybe Wanstead was, still was a little bit from the old guard, but you can't tell me Dick Duran wasn't a choir boy coach. You allow Dick Duran to date your daughter. You would allow Lovie Smith to date your daughter. Maybe not Matt Nagy, but you would allow a Matt Eberflus to date your daughter. So these are not guys you like. That's an awful guy. Stay away from. These are good people. So to say you had a good atmosphere while you had the Foxes, the Eberfluses, the Durans, the Lovie Smiths in your locker room, you should. That isn't surprising.
Well, so we got to be able to nail this down here. So what are your expectations here in the offseason? Because here in the offseason, we've gone through Black Monday. I didn't expect any news to take place. There was not going to be any, not at Lake Forest, because that's not the Bears' business. It wasn't so bad and so urgent that the Bears had to make a firing. However, I would say that based on everything I'm hearing, Matt Eberflus is going to be the head coach of the Bears unless there is a coming to Jesus moment between Kevin Warren and Jim Harbaugh. Okay. That was a problem when Kevin Warren was in the Big Ten. Those two did not get along through the pandemic. Okay. And you can Google search that and find out what the real reason was for that. It's a little deep-seated. but it's not like those two can't do business. Jim Harbaugh knows offense. I want Jim Harbaugh to be the next coach of the Bears. I've said that many times.
Yes.
And Jim is not going to coach college after this national championship game against Washington. It's just not happening. So my thought is, not because he was a former Bear and bring him back home, all that nonsense. I just think
It
that
helps.
you need but you need an offensive mind, like somebody that understands, right? And so my thought is that Eberflus is returning if it's not going to be Harbaugh. I believe that the Bears will fire Luke Getsy,
Yes,
find another offensive coordinator, and then Justin Fields. I think it's 50-50 for him to return. The smart side of it says, from the money standpoint, I know some people don't want to hear this, but would you rather reset the market and use the money that you'd spend on Justin Fields on whatever in free agency, offensive line, defensive line, whatever? Would you rather spend it on that or spend it on Fields and pay him $25 million or whatever and think, well, at some point he'll get better. He'll be a better quarterback than the 40 starts we've seen him. So that's the big question. I think it's 50-50. I think that it's very difficult to pass on the number one pick again and not take a quarterback. You did the first time, fine. I wouldn't have taken Bryce Young either. Little guy.
Right.
Absolutely not. Not because he sucks at Carolina. It's because there's no infrastructure around Carolina. Just like there's no infrastructure for the Bears for Bryce Young to do well. I didn't know.
Right.
We didn't know that C.J. Stroud would be this good at Houston. Nobody knew that. But what I'm telling you, Cuzzo, is I think that it's 50-50 that Fields stays. That's what I believe. And I think the other 50% is you take Caleb Williams and you reset the market. The question is, though, if you do that and you bring in Caleb Williams as your number one quarterback and he starts right away, how much does that retard the progress of what the Bears want to do offensively? Because you're teaching a young man offense in the NFL. Your defense will be straight. Your offensive line will get better. You might have Marvin Harrison there. Who knows? Or a different wide receiver along with DJ Moore. But does that make you more than a 7-win team with Caleb Williams? I'm not sure it is.
So I would hope so. Here's why. Because even if Fields stays, which I don't think he should, you still have to fire Getsy. So everyone's gonna be learning a new offense one way or another. So either we're learning this offense together, or I guess we're learning it together with Fields and without Fields. So if we're all learning the same offense, I would prefer to have a coach who had a say in the quarterback that was drafted. Who's going to tailor an offense to the quarterback that was drafted instead of just trying to fit a square peg in a round hole, as we've seen with Fields over the past couple of years. So because Getsy's going to be gone, I don't think it matters, because there's going to be a new offense. You're not going to run the same offense back again because you tried it. Bring someone else in and install a new offense. To your point, I would prefer Harbaugh because I say that because I say that as someone who's not a huge Harbaugh fan. I was a huge fan of his as a player, but as a coach, I've questioned some of his tactics, and not because I think cheating is bad. You didn't win with cheating, so how
bad
good was
cheater.
your cheating?
Bad cheater.
Yeah, like what are you doing? Do better.
But he helped with the RPOs. He made Kaepernick what he was.
Yeah, and Alex Smith didn't look bad with him either. So again, I don't have an issue with him as a coach, and I even think JJ McCarthy is a sleeper in this draft because he's played meaningful football. At least the past 2 years, really every season he's been there, he's played some meaningful football, and now he led his team down the field against Alabama to score the tying touchdown, beat that ass in overtime.
Yeah.
And if they win today, like that puts a cherry on top of the sundae. Is he better than Caleb Williams, the Drake Mays, or maybe even the
Michael Penix?
Michael Penis?
Not Penis. God. Bo Nix. You've been terrible. Don't be laughing at that, Cuzzo. Don't be laughing at that. Thanks. Get him out of there.
So is he better than them? I don't know. I think he could be because I think playing meaningful football matters. Because when you look at quarterbacks, the next level, you want to see somebody like a Joe Burrow who beat Fabio's ass in the national title game. You saw, hey, you put Burrow in a meaningful game, he's going to rise to the occasion. You saw Fabio in a meaningful game, and he wilted under the pressure. He pissed himself in that game.
You're talking about Trevor Lawrence, by the way.
Same person.
No, we just want to make sure to clarify which one's Fabio. You're talking about Trevor Lawrence. Go ahead.
Same, but yeah, and then you see in the NFL, like even yesterday, Jaguars chance to go to playoffs. What happens? Down the stretch, Fabio pisses himself.
Yes.
You know, it's what happens. So I want someone who has played meaningful football, and seeing that Phoenix or Penis has played meaningful football, McCarthy has played meaningful football. To me, that gives him an edge over the crying Caleb or Drake from North Carolina. North Carolina never plays meaningful football at all. So, you don't know. He's looking at physical traits and hoping that when it matters, could this guy step up? I'm seeing the guys playing tonight, when it mattered, they stepped up and they made plays. So, just an option.
Well, I kind of think that it's 50-50, like I mentioned, on Justin Fields. When it comes to Matt Eberflus, I mean, I really believe that Jim Harbaugh will be in the conversation, but will he be hired by the Bears? I don't know. I don't know if that's the case. I know that there's a feeling from Kevin Warren that he likes the continuity and is like bring everybody back for one more year. I heard the parallel of the St. Louis Rams and Dick Vermeil this morning, which is I just throw completely out of hand. It was Kevin Warren said that, year 3 for the Rams, that really got them where they need to be and be a Super Bowl contender and won the Super Bowl. Let me tell you something. I know Matt Eberflus, he's no Dick Vermeil. Okay, I know. Okay.
I agree.
And that is not the fastest show on turf, and they don't even have the weapons like that yet. They still have to build toward that.
Before we move on, and I just want to say one more thing before we move on.
Yes.
When it comes to matchmaking decisions on personnel or coaching, I want Ryan Pace to make those decisions. I'm not Ryan Pace. Fuck. Ryan Poles to make those decisions.
Yes.
I don't want anyone else making those decisions but Ryan Poles. I don't want anyone else in the building other than Ryan Poles making those decisions. As when it comes to football guys in Hallis Hall, he's been the only person who's shown to be competent when it comes to making football decisions. I don't want anyone else in that. I don't want Sweaty Teddy. I don't want Kevin Warren. I don't want the McCaskies. Let Ryan Poles make those decisions. Let Kevin Warren handle the stadium stuff. Kiss the babies, play the political part of your job because he's done great with that. Be that guy. Be the face of the organization. You're doing well with that. Be the face of the organization. Don't start making personnel decisions. Let the guy who has had success doing it, which is Ryan Poles, let him continue to make those decisions. Stay out of it. I mean, be a sounding board for him. But when it comes down to who has the final say in that, it should be Ryan Poles, period.
It will be. However, Kevin Warren wants to know what's going on because he's the president of the football team, right? I mean, that's not. But it will not be him overseeing Poles, from what I understand. It's Poles' decision, but Warren wants to be in the room, not having more decision making, but just say, "Hey, man, what's going on? How can I help? Do I need to talk to an agent for you? Whatever, right?" He's just there saying, "I'm here as a sounding board if you need me." And
that's
great. This offseason will tell a great story, Cuzzo.
It will.
I'm telling you from the information that I'm getting and about what's going on with this Bears team, it's just a lot of different plates spinning. Here we lay it out all the time. Do you bring Justin Fields back? Do you draft a quarterback in the first round? Do you trade Justin Fields, and what do you get back for Justin Fields? What are you doing at wide receiver along with DJ Moore? What other weapons do you have offensively? How many offensive linemen are you going to get? You missed 2 in the game against the Packers. Whether they were there or not, the Bears are going to lose that game, unfortunately. Yeah. So, but you got to upgrade there should be a clown car of offensive linemen coming into Lake Forest now to try to get ready. Because Feeney and Whitehair, and those guys, they have to go. You have to let those guys get fresh meat. You still need a 3 technique. You need to get better on that defensive line. It's funny. Before we just turn the page, because we're going to talk about Katt Williams here in a second, about the defense. Got gashed a ton. Got gashed.
Yeah.
And again, the score was like, it's only 17-9. That doesn't tell the story of how many throws and how often the Packers are able to run the football against this Bears defense. This vaunted Bears defense that played well against tomato cans and against some good teams where they had to make stops. But when it mattered again to knock the Packers out of the playoffs or to make you 8-9 or for you to have momentum going into next season, they wilted. Jalen Johnson. That's not the difference between a win and a loss. It's not. You not getting to Jordan Love is a problem. And that same pass rush and that sack ability that you had in previous games was not there on Sunday.
Yep, because what they did, they double-teamed Sweat and said, all right, everyone else beat us. And no one else could. So they took Sweat out the game, and the rest of the team couldn't beat him at all.
Like one sack by DeMarcus Walker, that was in the first half.
Yeah. So they're definitely going to have to upgrade the defensive line. You need someone else. You need at least one more in who can get to the quarterback, and that'll make a huge difference. I still haven't given up on Dexter. Not as much Pickens, but Dexter seems to be coming on strong towards the end of the season. So I liked what I saw from him.
Yeah.
But at worst, you need to add depth to the defensive line, because having one player that can sack a quarterback is a lot different than having multiple players that can sack a quarterback, because when you have multiple, they can't just double one, because if they double one, you have others who can get off, in whatever game. So you can't expect Sweat to beat 2-3 defenders every single game, and a chipping running back every game. You can't.
You had 30 sacks and 22 interceptions as a unit, which is an improvement from last year. Yeah. So I'll take it. Like, you're set at linebacker. You're good there.
Yeah.
They're going to pay Jalen Johnson. I'd be surprised if they did not. They're going to find a way. I was told that Jalen Johnson more than likely will be paid and will be taken care of. Eddie Jackson, on the other hand, may not be with the football team next year.
That's good. He wasn't there this year either.
So Ngakoue will not be here. So again, you need to be able to fill that bill for Ngakoue. And so you have some pieces there, but you just got to upgrade. That's again, right. Will tell a great story how you try to build this football team, quote unquote, the right way. This season, though, man, we're going to be doing a lot more shows about this Bears offseason, because there's going to be some news coming out of there.
I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to next year. I think that's the year we finally turn the corner, and you can clearly see the light at the end of the tunnel. I can see. If I'm looking hard enough, I can see something that looks like it's glittering. I'm not sure, but I think after this offseason, we'll know, like, okay, yeah, we're ready for prime time. And seeing that schedule next year, like just seeing the teams we're going to play next year, I think we have a chance at the light at 10+ wins.
That's what it is. You see the light. That's what it's the light.
That's what it is.
Yes.
That's what it is.
It's the light. I mean, it's not the Bears, it's just light. That's all you see at the end of the tunnel.
That's it.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing else there. Just light. You see it at the end of the tunnel, but still, Bears don't do the right thing at quarterback. That light gonna be dim.
Could be a train.
That's all you see right there. That's for sure. Okay, so you see, we go from Justin Fields and we go to Katt Williams. I know that's so we go to Katt Williams and Club Shay Shay. So if you haven't seen this story, I don't know how you could have missed it. It's been all over the place, all over your social media. Comedian, and I get this from Anscape.com. Comedian Katt Williams showed up on former NFL star Shannon Sharp's Club Shay Shay podcast and spent almost 3 hours airing out his grievances about everyone from Steve Harvey and celebrity entertainer to nearly every comedian whom he felt disrespected him. Soon after the podcast release, clips of Sharp and Williams' conversation went viral, and it felt less of an interview and more of an impromptu stand-up special. This podcast has got over 15 million views over a day. Coincidentally, came out the same week, the Netflix special of Dave Chappelle Interesting. That's that the same week that came out. So we heard from Katt Williams saying that Cedric the Entertainer was stealing his jokes, and that he clowned Steve Harvey for supposedly wearing a hairpiece in the 1990s, and that Steve Harvey stole from Mark Curry's Hanging with Mr. Cooper. Now, again, I had to look it up now, Cuzzo. So it was Mark Curry hanging with Mr. Cooper before Steve Harvey's show, correct?
Yes.
And so that is the equivalent of a living single coming up, and then all of a sudden here comes Friends, right?
Yes.
So, like, wait a minute. Here's a concept of, singles living together in New York, in the same complex. Wait a minute. Friends comes out. The white version of Living Single. What happened there? So same thing. So let me just give you my thoughts, and then I want to get yours. So I watched the entire thing. Shannon Sharpe, let me just say, first of all, that man knows how to market. You love a guy that left Skip Bayless at Fox and goes over to ESPN, but yet working with Colin Cowherd on the Volume, who is a Fox employee. So he has the Volume, and he also has his own podcast, and he does work for ESPN. That's what I call. I admire the multiple revenue streams. The hustle is real with Shannon Sharpe.
I love it.
Great for him, man. So he has his Club Shay Shay podcast, an unusual name, because if you don't know Shay Shay, you would think there'd be some ratchet person from 35th and Cottage, but it's not. It's Shannon Sharpe, and so he has this podcast. And I watched the whole thing, Cuzzo, and I was just like, Katt Williams is going to go off. He's going to say some stuff, but I didn't know it cut so deep. I don't know what's true. I don't know what's not. I just know it's entertaining. And it comes across sour, in which he's just going over everybody from Ricky Smiley to he didn't never touch Dave Chappelle. Didn't go after him, but he went after what is considered the Black Rat Pack in some way. Right? Of going after Steve Harvey, Cedric the Entertainer. Didn't go after DL Hughley. I guess he's smarter than that. He ain't gonna go after DL. Because DL also has a show. He ain't gonna do that. But I want to get your thoughts on what you saw there. Faison Love also took a stray, and others. I thought that it was entertaining. And I guess if you feel like you can still get gigs and not get canceled, if you want to talk your talk, go right ahead. He doesn't care about friends. He cares about business, clearly.
Yes. So what I saw, Cuzzo, I saw a Machiavellian-like marketing strategy just play out perfectly. But for starters, Uncle Shannon, we need some Uncle Shannon yak, because that Uncle Shannon yak seems to do great work, because you had Katt Williams as comfortable as he could possibly be. So, comfort is always a great thing. So I think I'm going to invest in some Uncle Shannon yak, because, it does, it seems to do a great job of making people comfortable in your environment. So that's
our family in brown liquor, that never happens.
Yeah. Well,
Go right ahead, sir.
But what I saw was brilliance by Katt Williams, because when he was done, he had every comedian, even Joe Rogan, because he touched on Joe Rogan, and Joe Rogan was done. I was like, hey, I want you on my podcast. But prior to him going on Uncle Shannon's podcast, he didn't want him on there. So he touched on all of those guys, and even in the end, you had Mike Epps trying to join into the discussion, because they realized how brilliant it was marketing wise. So Katt Williams is going to get ready to go on the road right now to start his comedy tour. He's going to shoot a Netflix special. He's going to make a shit ton of money just from that interview, as well as Uncle Shannon's going to make a shit ton of money, because last I saw, that interview was over 30 million views. So that's a lot of fucking hits, which is a lot of fucking revenue for Shannon Sharpe when it's done. So I thought it was brilliant, but I thought it was lost in what seemed like the airing of grievances was that here's a guy who's a great fucking man. Like a really solid dude. Homeless at 13 years old, hitchhiked to Miami, hitchhiked from Miami to Oklahoma, where while he was in Oklahoma, he had women of the night taking care of him. They raised him, essentially. He leaves there, does well with the stand-up comedy, and he's helped countless, not only comedians, countless celebrities who were struggling. He goes quietly, he goes an envelope of money. You had Boosie crying about him giving him an envelope of $15,000 when he got out of prison. You had what's my Chicago guy from the Old Spice commercial? Chicago guy,
Cole.
Yeah, talking about him when he was broke, finishing his stand-up show and having one of Katt Williams' assistants come up to him and hand him an envelope of money with $1,000 in it. He said it meant a lot to him because he didn't have any fucking money.
Yeah.
So you're having all these people come out talking about the great work that Katt Williams did. He adopted 7 kids. Hood. People don't want to raise their own kids, let alone adopting 7 more. He adopted 7 kids and raised all 7 of those kids in addition to his own kid. So this isn't a man who, outside of comedy is just an evil person. He's a great dude, and he's worked his ass off to go from homeless at 13 to a multimillionaire. So Katt Williams as a man, I have no issue with. Katt Williams as a comedian, I think is one of the top 5 best comedians of this generation. To me, hands down. Regardless of whatever money he's made off of it, doesn't matter. When you look at pure talent, there's few come close to him when it comes to just pure talent as a comedian. So I love the guy.
That's fine, but you can't say at 52 years of age that you could run a 4.140. Now that's a yak talking. I mean,
that's Uncle Shannon's yak right there. Yeah, that's what that was right there. Yeah.
He also said he read 3,000 books a year from the ages 8 to 12.
So you know what happens. You know what happens to it when you tell a story. The older you get, that story, you embellish it more and more the older you get. Yeah. So he may have read 500 books, 200 books, whatever it is. It was still a lot of books. But over time, 200 goes to, well, I read 1,000. And then 10 years passes, that 1,000 goes to, well, I read 2,000. Another 5-10 years passes, it's 3,000. So he read a lot of books. He was a kid who got into some advanced school in his community because of his intellect. And it wasn't because of something he got from his home. It was just something, his own curiosity led him to, discovering different things. And that curiosity led him to, after a fight with his father, led him to hitchhiking to Miami at 13 years old. Imagine yourself 13 years old getting a ride on a Mack truck by a stranger to Miami.
Yeah, I couldn't come from the crib to the Regal Theater by myself at that age.
Right.
Without help.
And one, just being comfortable enough to even do that, and then get to Miami, what the hell do you do?
Yeah.
How do you even know what to do? You got a little dog and probably a little bag you got in your hand. Where do you go? So for him to survive that.
Yeah, that's fine. But you
survive that,
I'm just saying, you just can't sit there and be like, I read 3,000 books between the ages of 8 and 12. You can't do that, man. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah, and even he was talking about how he beat his son in basketball. The numbers didn't add up.
Well,
we played 106 games. I'm 94-5. 94-5, 106 games. I don't know if that's.
Yo.
Let me see. Yeah.
Yes.
That ain't 106.
No,
a little short. Short. So.
Here's the thing. And we're gonna play some of what Katt Williams had to say to Shannon Sharp. See, some of this is satire, and some of it is just him just riffing and giving his thoughts on comedians stealing from him and all that. Shannon Sharp has a sense of humor, but he was so firmly entrenched in the interview, he didn't know when to laugh because he wasn't sure what was not. And that's the problem, right? He's not the best interviewer yet, but again, he's just trying to get better with it because he has his own platform. He's got these cards in his hand, just like he's just like, okay, so it says here, like he's going through and he's got these little cards, and it's just kind of like, okay, he's trying to get better as an interviewer. But he was so thrown off guard. He put the cards down at one point and just started drinking because he didn't know what to do. Because there was so much information coming so fast that a normal interviewer, even me, would have been able to follow up on some stuff, interrupt him, get the soundbite, but also interrupt him and follow up on some stuff. And Shay couldn't do that. So I thought it was interesting. So it was the yak. You saw them like kept drinking because I just think that Shannon was like, oh, I got me a gold mine here. Yes. All right, because I'm going to play an excerpt of this. I still haven't learned how to put this on the StreamYard yet, but at least I'll put it up here.
The same Steve that went to go watch Mark Curry do his whole sitcom and then stole everything Mark Curry had. Now Steve got a sitcom where he the principal and he wear a suit and then he gets this high top fade, making all black men think he got the best lineup in the business. And it's a man unit. Then you ask him, why you not a movie star? I didn't want to be a movie star. This the same Negro that hated on Bernie with this same thing. I didn't want to be a movie star. No, you couldn't be a movie star. There are 30,000 new scripts in Hollywood every year. Not one of them asks for a country bumpkin black dude that can't talk good over KB and look like Mr. Potato Head. There ain't none. You would have to have range. I played a lot of characters, 60 movie roles. I'm not playing Katt Williams in there.
I don't know, Katt. We might not let you drink anymore. The way we ain't even got
I've had a sip, less than you. This is like Steve Harvey telling people he used to be homeless. That's my story. That's not his story. Steve Harvey wasn't never homeless. But Mark Curry was touring with him 25 years ago. He was making $3,000 a show in cash and doing 5 shows a week. They just tell the stories. Thanks to my wife, I'm where I am. You said that about the first wife. You said that, told us it was her. Then you went somebody else that think like a man. Like, what are you talking about? They think they can rewrite history. Guy Torrey did a beautiful special about the Comedy Store and Fat Tuesday, where he said that Steve and Cedric and Kevin Hart and Tiffany Haddish came through there and made all lies. Steve and Cedric never performed at the Comedy Store at all. Tiffany was only seen at the Laugh Factory. In 15 years in Hollywood, no one in Hollywood has a memory of going to Kevin Hart show. They pay you to not talk about things they don't want you to talk about. They tell you that themselves. I can't do that because Steve told you that he stopped doing stand-up because he had 7 TV shows. The only problem is when he stopped stand-up, he didn't have those 7 TV shows. He stopped stand-up because he got in a comedy battle called the Championship of Stand-Up Comedy with one Katt Williams in Detroit in front of 10,000 people and lost because Katt Williams said he was actually bald and that was a wig. And I went in, and that's why he couldn't do stand-up anymore. Imagine him coming to tell you another story where he got so big and it was Bernie and them's fault because they wanted to be movie stars. What? You called Ocean 11 to get that nigga's part. What do you mean you didn't want to be a movie star? So on the behalf of Bernie, I would have to say what I have to say.
Have you ever been on tour with any of these guys?
Every guy I mentioned to you is not funny out there in real life. So no.
Wow.
Faison's never done his own tour.
Never mind about Faison. Let's not talk about him. So, Cuzzo.
Hey.
So that's just a part of Club Shay Shay. And again, it lasts a long time. There's a lot of stuff that was said there, but I mean,
it did work.
Yes, But let me just tell you the part that I want to talk to you about, and that is stealing jokes. And there's a lot of examples out there. But I tell you what, the internet is undefeated. You talk about being able to find the receipts. The joke that Katt Williams did at on BET Comic View about having a big car and being able to steer that big car, stolen by Cedric the Entertainer. He remixed it on the Kings of Comedy. You're familiar with that joke, right? He turned it into but Katt Williams did that joke originally. I remember BET Comic View, back in the day, black comedy on TV every weekend, every Friday, Comic View. It was so great during that time if you're not of age. But Katt did that joke first. And then Cedric remixed it and made millions from it because he was on King of the Comedy. You saw this, right?
I did see it. And I also, I saw that. I saw the clip, and I've learned that stealing jokes is something that it looks like maybe not Katt Williams, but all comedians are doing. Like even the Kings of Comedy, speaking of that, the joke that Bernie Mac did of, he was teasing me. He stole that from a kid, I mean, almost verbatim from Showtime at the Apollo. So someone, speaking of your receipts, someone posted the clip. When I say he may have changed like 10 words, and his lead up, his histrionics leading up to, the punchline was obviously a lot better because he's a more skilled comedian. But the entire joke was stolen from a kid from Showtime at the Apollo. So when you're talking about stealing jokes, it seems like if you're a big comedian, you go to some small place, or someone brings you some joke from some small place, and you work it into your routine, and you hope to get away with it. Katt blew up. So unlike that kid from Showtime at the Apollo that didn't blow up, Katt blew up and was like, hey, that was my joke. You just made my car a spaceship. So it was a stolen joke. But what he pointed out that still had me laughing was the thing that I think we all thought as a black community. We were like, who the fuck cuts Steve Harvey's hair? Like there's never one strand of hair out of place. He has the perfect line, and every time you see him, who the fuck cuts his hair? How much does he pay for it? And obviously, you get older, you realize it wasn't his hair. He had us going around going crazy, like Katt Williams said. It's like we looking around like, I want a Steve Harvey lining. Give me one of those. Yes.
Yeah. You want to? Yeah. You want? So
yes.
At the band kid, that was never his hair. That was never his hair.
Not a strand of hair out of place ever. You're like, how is that even possible?
People going around thinking he had the best lineup in the business. That's what he
clearly did. Stolen.
Listen, for someone whose lines get stolen on a more, on a daily basis on my own radio show,
you're familiar with it. Your partner steals your lines.
I would know exactly what that is. I know what that's like. And so, there's no way around it. You could be at a small place in Alsip, right? All jokes, a place in Alsip, or you could be someplace in Bronzeville and see somebody on a small stage workout material, and all of a sudden through the back door, here comes like a six-figure comedian that just happens to say, "Hey man, can I get 10 minutes? I need 15 minutes." And of course, you're gonna move heaven and earth for that person to be on your stage. But that person could be in the back by the bar watching a routine and be like, you know what? I'll use that. I'll take that.
Yep.
And it blows up. But here's the thing, though. Here's the platform. Katt Williams is right there, and he was an already established comedian, and that comedian is having his material stolen by Steve Harvey and by Cedric the Entertainer. There's a lot of other examples of it, but I'm just the idea that Steve Harvey, he does the same joke. Oh, the joke about gas. Did you see that? Like Katt Williams, he had the first joke about how, when you had $20, you could fill up your gas tank and you didn't give a fuck about anything. You just walked away. Like, here's $20, I'll walk away. And everything's good. Now, you try to pump your gas, and now you're watching very closely, hold that pump to make sure that you got just enough to make rent or whatever, so you don't go exceed the amount that you have. Steve Harvey did that joke. Did it
Yeah.
verbatim? He
Yeah,
did.
he did. Yep. And I think what Steve Harvey did was more egregious than what Cedric Entertainer did, because Ced stole a joke from a guy who, at that point, you think he may not even make it to be famous. He's on this show, he may not go anywhere. Katt was already, like you said, a big time comedian, and Steve Harvey was like, "Well, I'm a bigger comedian than him because I've been around for longer, so I'll take this joke, on my last tour and use it like it's mine, even though it isn't." So yeah, I think it's foul. I think being original is better, and I think that's one of the beefs that Katt Williams has his beyond his Machiavellian marketing strategy was that I'm working my ass off, I'm creating new material, I'm doing things the quote unquote right way, and you're taking shortcuts. And not only taking shortcuts, people are paying you for your shortcuts. So he's pissed. He's like, what happened to working hard, doing things the right way, being rewarded, when it looks like if I took a shortcut or, expose my booty hole, I may have a better chance of getting ahead.
Huh? Did you say what hole? What was that?
The that little thing, the feces come out of that thing,
Never mind. Here's the never mind. We'll crop you out and we go right back to me, because let's go to that joke we just talked about. Because as you talk about booty holes, let's go back to here's obviously Katt Williams can tell this joke better than I can. The gas prices joke. Where did this come? It came from Katt Williams. Listen to
it. It's entirely too high. That's all I'm saying. You are not supposed to be at the gas station making life decisions. You just at the pump. Just, Negro, did I eat today? I can't get no half a tank. I got 6 cigarettes. I can't even do it. It used to be, if you had $10, $15, you could go to the gas station with confidence, because you knew you was either going to be full or damn near full. If you had a 20, you didn't even talk to the person at the counter. You just 20 on 11, bitch. Used to be, if you put $15 in your tank, you had time to bond with your vehicle. You had time to put the nozzle in and set the clicker and look through your car and lean off the dashboard and look through your CDs and run in the store and get some Pringles and a Snapper, and it'll still be pumping. Now if you put $15 in, you can't even turn around good for that son of a bitch click. As soon as you put it in, just click, click.
Gas $4 a gallon. Can't even pump gas like you used to no more. $4 a gallon. You remember when you used to go to pump and put the nozzle in there and hit? Be sitting there talking, be on your phone. Hey, what's happening? Be walking around, cleaning the windshield. Speaking of game, girl, what's happening? What you doing? You. Hey, okay, you go in there, bring me a wine.
Gas is entirely
wow. Yeah.
Stolen.
That's
remixed, but completely stolen. And by the way,
yes,
Katt Williams did it better.
He did. And that's what made it worse too, because at least Cedric the Entertainer made the original joke better.
Yes,
like the lead up, and then the punchline at the end, it was better than what Katt Williams did. It was his joke.
That Steve Harvey did.
No. When Ced stole the joke, he made it better.
Oh, yes.
Steve stole the joke, he made it worse. That shouldn't even be possible.
Yes.
If you're going to remix something, you should be able to tweak it to make it better. He tweaked it, it made it worse. So I have less respect for him, because at least Cedric the Entertainer made his joke better. It was a better joke when he remixed it. Steve Harvey, it was worse. It was worse. And like I said, what was more egregious by that was the fact that Katt was already established by that time. So you stole a joke from an established comedian during an era where everything is recorded. So it wasn't like there wasn't going to be footage of him telling the joke.
Yeah.
It was clearly footage of him telling the joke. You stole a joke that everyone was going to know you stole. That tells me at the end, Steve had nothing left. So when he says he retired because of the TV shows, you retired because you had no new material. You couldn't create new material, so you let it go. You got a guy like Katt who's still, 20 plus years into his career, he's still able to create at a high level, like the Dave Chappelle's of the world. All those other great comedians can still create later in life. Even Marvin Martin is still creating material 30 plus years into a career. That's called talent. When you run out of material or you having writers write the material, it's business. It's not the same.
All right, Rocky, it's your turn.
Rocky, yo, here you go.
Rocky,
Sit.
Rocky. Oh, okay. Rocky, who's going to win the national championship? I think Rocky's a Michigan fan. It's a Michigan.
Yeah, Wolverine said Blue Machine. Blue Machine.
Wolverines.
There we go.
Yeah, and so
There we go.
don't worry about it, Rocky. Jim Harbaugh will be the head coach in the NFL.
He's coming.
It has been a long time for Michigan, but they're going to find a way to win this game, I think. Could you imagine we stopped this podcast and Washington wins after I said that?
Oh, well, I think Michigan will have a hard time losing right now based on what I'm looking at right now. But anything can happen. All
right, Cuzzo, we'll talk next week. We'll find out what's happening in the NFL playoffs and have some Bulls and NBA to talk about. So it's always a pleasure. And so for would you stop having the dog bite you, for goodness sake? I just want everybody just to see this. I mean, just.
That's it. All right, sit. No, sit. No, sit. There you go. Sit. There you go. Good job. No, sit. Rocky. Nope. No hands.